Thank you for listening to the Court of Public Opinion. We're going to get to the top news early Wednesday morning. James T. Hodgkinson opened fire on Republicans, specifically targeting Republicans, and from his Facebook page, which I found on Rush Limbaugh, that he was a Bernie supporter. Rand Paul had stated that nobody would have survived this shooting. It would have been a massacre without the intervention of Capitol Police. And then you can see the images here. And also, Representative Steve Scalise shot, and then he was in stable condition the last we heard. And this is a little bit about Representative Steve Scalise. And recently he also became an advocate for fighting human trafficking. And you can find some of these images on YouTube. I just screenshotted this. And there's just some statements he made how the House has taken a strong action to stand up against the victims, for the victims of human trafficking by passing tougher laws. And we're going to leave it there for a moment. And not sure where to start as far as discussion. It's too early to tell. I guess the first thing I would think is just keep praying. The report, of course, regarding his condition, Representative Steve Scalise, is that he suffered some injuries, and there's been internal, obviously for where he got shot. I just got done watching the video of the shooting. It's hard to make this connection because a lot of things you see on TV, it's like you have to check yourself, is this real, And one of the things about being able to watch TV or have access to watching TV is that you have to be able to separate what's real and what's not, right? And too many times we watch news and I'm like, I don't know if I can, it was so shocking. I'm still in shock right now by this news story because it was early in the morning. We spent most of the day trying to research and dig away at the story, and I have to tell you, a lot of people have different views about how this all went down, and I think over time we will find out, but I don't want to dive too much into it. But let's speak to Representative Steve Scalise and his position he took with human trafficking. We know it's widespread. We also know from looking at previous reports that there have been convictions of high-profile cases, and even as recently in the last couple weeks, that the arrest of high-profile, when I say high-profile, I mean people that live in the community, anything from, police officers to teachers that have been arrested regarding cases involving human trafficking to sexual abuse of children. So it's a very, very tough topic to tackle. And, I'm sure over the next 24 to 48 hours, I would even suggest that, everyone should take a little more precautions now going forward, especially if, it's Father's Day weekend. If you have a YouTube channel, social media page, be careful what you say, obviously, and what you're reading, okay? A lot of what I see lately is people get angry and they take it out on one another, and unfortunately they're not talking things out. And there's a lot of people have strong views on things, so be careful not to go out of your way to be offensive. Be considerate of others. These are things that we can all do better at. I know that the issue of that Representative Steve Scalise has been tackling is a very serious issue, and I think actually it's probably going to get more attention because of this. It doesn't have to draw any more attention now, because obviously for the reasons we just stated. Let's take this a different direction. Obviously, when we touch on just Representative Steve Scalise, and of course the other injuries involving the other victims in the shooting, and then the video. If you didn't get a chance to see the video, the one I watched, and I'll put the link below, went on for over 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is a long time for somebody to keep shooting. And the first thing I noticed from watching the video and the reference making where Senator Rand Paul, I guess what upsets me is that we've gotten to the point where now representatives are being shot at, and it could be assassination. In this case, I think that's exactly what it is. Was it targeted to Representative Steve Scalise? I think for somebody to know where the representatives were playing baseball and knowing a little bit about their whereabouts, and being as it was a charity event, I don't know how much he knew about Washington politics, but apparently enough to know where to go to find them. And then, of course, this had to be well thought out. So that those are things that you have to know, that either having lived or been around Washington, D.C., you might know that there's events like that. And, I hope that they can get things back to normal in Washington, D.C. quickly. From when it's always going to take, it's going to take some time for people to adjust to what's going on. And I don't expect anybody to, there's going to be a heightened state of alert for, I think, after this, probably from this point on, and how they report it. I would also suggest anybody be very careful, because we're still too early into this to get into too much detail. Okay. And I wouldn't want to, but I look at how they handle victims of violent crime, and there's a process, and there's obviously, a court process. So these are things that we will hear more about in the coming days. Arguably, there's no debate here. Some people ask the question, like I said earlier, how do they know to shoot and kill somebody? But that's part of the training. It's not meant to. And sometimes I think what they do is in an event like this, they have the training is that's just part of the training. So I don't want to get too far with that. We'll follow more comments, and we'll just wait and see what happens. I don't want to go too far. I'm not really sure I was prepared to even report this. It's very emotional for me and people like me who tackle the topic on child trafficking. I didn't think we would end up here, So how do we handle these things? Because going forward, how's that going to affect our relationships and who we deal with from here on? And looking at this report, we're going to have to take a serious approach to the people that are in front of this. How does this affect your family, your friends, your relationships, your job? And in this case, if Representative Steve Scalise was a target of, due to the case of human trafficking, I have to look at it like that. It's obviously was politically motivated, directed. I would say we can at least make that. We can at least get that far. It was politically motivated, and it could easily, and it was targeted at Republicans, and especially the day after the hearings. So, knowing what I reported the day before the shooting, is that it's almost come to a tipping point, and I wouldn't be surprised if there will be a lot of other things we need to do, take in consideration what we can do to prevent a crime like this, and the steps we need to take. Personal security. We've touched on operational security. If you served as a veteran, you're going to be in a heightened state alert, because in an event when it involves representatives, you've taken an oath, that your alert is up. And it should be. And it's going to stay like that. At this point, domestic terrorism and politically motivated or domestic violence, in any case, you're going to be in a heightened state alert. So the people, obviously the primary victims, and of course the overall situation and the perimeter, that you could see from the images here over there earlier. that, that's going to be under investigation. So, but there are some things we need to maybe take away from this that maybe we can touch on soon enough. It's just, I don't even want to start too much. I didn't want to start my day like this. I don't think anybody, the day after this shooting, I didn't want to not report it. And I'm thinking I probably don't want to right now. Yeah, I'm very upset about this. It's been emotional for a lot of people, and because the subject matters. And what I think, me personally, and some of you, anybody, follows these stories, or maybe you got in and over your head. How do you approach it? How do we confront this? And how do we live our lives from here? You know what I mean? We have to take in consideration it's dangerous. This is a very dangerous topic because of who it involves. And how do we go about protecting ourselves? And Representative Steve Scalise was just the day before, he was speaking to veterans. So, talking about heroes and what he wants to do to help heroes. Well, we definitely think of him as a hero ourselves, and we're veterans. So, I'm sorry if I'm having a hard time reporting this. I'm trying very hard, by the way. But, from what you can gather from the reports, people do a better job at reporting this. But we're going to sign off here, and we're going to touch on other topics, and we'll cover some more stories. We're going to take the day to chill out and pay attention. Look out. Make sure you look out for each other. And just take steps to be a little bit more guarded. Be careful what you say on social media, because it's a lot of hype. And, due to the sensitive nature of these topics, okay? The Court of Public Opinion is a part of the Amateur Radio Network.